Faisal, thank you so much for being here with me today. I hope your side of the world is sunnier than here in Geneva, where it's pouring.
It's
Are
actually, it
you
was
still?
raining since yesterday, and it's like the city is flooding. So
So you're in Jeddah, right?
I'm in Jeddah. Yes.
Yeah. Is it unusual for you to have rain?
It is unusual. It comes once a year, twice a year. Only this time of the year, actually, in like December, Jan.
Yeah.
But when it rains, like heavy rain, like it did yesterday, unfortunately, a lot of the streets get flooded,
Yeah.
and
Life
it's not
stops.
an easy situation. Yeah, life stops.
Okay. So, as an introduction, I came across your work exactly 101 weeks ago. I saw on my
Wow,
Instagram. It was in
wow.
January 2021. And I came across your work called Diban.
Mm,
I'll show you right now. It was this image.
yeah,
So for those who are listening and not watching, it's an Arab man with a thobe, so a coat and a keffiyeh and the how do you call it, the iqal, so the rope
yes,
on
I
the
got it.
head, on a orange background, and the face is Picasso-like with green eyes. And the Picasso thing, I'm used to it, of course, growing up in Europe, but the
Of course.
association with the Arab inspiration just really struck me. So I saved it in my art favorites, and then it just stayed there, and I never thought more of it. And I reposted it, etc. And yeah, so this is how I discovered you in the first place. And the name Diban, I saw it's the name of a Jordanian town, but does it have another meaning?
First of all, thank you so much for the for the introduction. I feel honored, and when you say 131 weeks ago, it feels like a lifetime.
Yeah.
Um, it is quite some time, and I'm truly honored to like have you love my work. And yes, Picasso is a huge inspiration for me. Associating it with culture is something that I wouldn't say was planned. It came along, trying different styles of art, just experimenting what I love and enjoy, which was a mixture of everything. And then I think I came up or came across this developed style, which I'm currently now known for. Um, and obviously, as an artist journey, I try to keep improving, changing, experimenting different styles, and see where that takes me. For this painting, the ban. So actually, the painting is, as you said, a guy wearing a mishlah, shumag, and a gal. However, the shumag is placed in a certain way, different than you would normally see.
So Shemagh
Normally,
is
you would.
what I said, what I called kufiya.
So kufiya would be the hat,
Yes.
like the white hat. Shumag is the red and white
Ah,
scarf,
okay.
or I don't think it has an English name, but the scarf thing that um, Arab men wear it. Usually, it's worn either straight down, like that's like the professional way. Some people would put it in the back,
Mhm.
like right and left back of their on their back, basically. This specific style of placement that I drew was inspired by a picture of King Abdulaziz.
I'm
Um,
just gonna show it again.
yes, so it was inspired by an actual picture of King Abdulaziz who
I
was
see.
wearing the shemagh this way.
Okay.
And it actually was, so the picture was placed behind King Salman on his first speech during the COVID period, where he
Mhm.
was saying the challenges and everything. It was a statement by King Salman putting this painting behind him that this placement of the Shemagh means that this person is ready for tough times.
Ah,
Whether it's war, whether it's something like COVID or anything else, this position or placement of the Shemagh means that you are ready for a tough time coming.
Because it's tied and it's not going to get in the way of anything.
Exactly,
Okay.
exactly, because it's tied and it's not going to get in the way. That's the placement of the shumaga. The word diban is also a common word that we use here in Saudi. It is inspired by the word dib, which is wolf. So when you call someone diban, basically you're like calling him as a person that helps you a lot with anything
Like
in
a
need,
partner?
like a partner, like someone who you can count on, basically.
Okay.
Someone who like just does good things to people around them. So when you say diban, you're like calling someone my man, but not
Mm,
just a man, but you're a wolf and helping people, and like in tough
okay.
times when I need you, you're there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
diban is a slang word that we use here in Saudi to just call someone brave, helpful, supportive, you know, w- on your side, on your back, and everything.
Okay.
Um, so that's
Well,
why,
that's a super cool introduction. I think people now want to know who you are and why did I invite you on this podcast. So,
sure.
if you had to describe yourself at the third person, how would you describe yourself?
So, okay, Faisal Al Khareji is a Saudi artist who paints who paints special characters um, and mixes different schools of art. Um, it's a creation of a mixture between cubism, surrealism, and most importantly, culture. Um, Faisal tried to portray his culture in many different ways, colors, shapes, and forms in order to fulfill his goal, which is representing culture differently. Um,
Which is your
at the same,
slogan?
which is my slogan exactly.
His
And at the
slogan, I should say.
his yeah, exactly. At the same time, Faisal is a passionate marketeer who works in the marketing industry at a multinational FMCG company.
Mhm.
Uh, he plans to continue pursuing the marketing career as a professional career, but also um, being creative as ever and more, and representing culture the way it should be represented, hopefully.
شرفنا.
Sharaf, thank you so much. It's a pleasure to meet you and a pleasure to
Pleasure
be
to
here.
meet you. Great. So you mentioned you're mixing different styles, representing culture, and this is really what drew me to your work. Through my blog, Emmy in the Mix, and the podcast, of course, I always like to see artists who mix new things to come up with something original. So it's it's a great inspiration and it's refreshing to see it. And I would like to know like where it's coming from. So can you tell us for the listeners also how it was for you to grow up in Saudi Arabia because you're from Saudi Arabia and you grew up in Jeddah, I think,
Yes.
by the sea. And yeah, tell us how it was, the games you were playing, the holidays, the school, and eventually how that inspired you and translated into your work.
Sure, sure. Growing up in Jeddah is amazing. I love Jeddah. It's my favorite city. It wasn't, I would say, the most advanced city ever, maybe while growing up, but however, it developed a lot in recent years to become, I believe, one of the most beautiful cities ever. It's just very chill, very cozy. The people here are very, very friendly. Um, it's just a very happy place to be. Um, I think I had a very normal childhood. I played everything from video games to sports, soccer. Um, if I remember specific games from my childhood, I used to play chess a lot,
Mm,
especially with my mom because she loved chess. But the most game I played other than video games was Monopoly. I just loved
You
playing
had
it
that
with,
too.
yeah. I just loved playing it with my cousins. We used to stay hours and hours, 5, 6, 10 hours playing one game of Monopoly.
Hmm.
Um, that was the business side of me, I think. That was interested in the money part, the building
Yeah.
part, the land, real estate, and so on.
Hang on,
Um,
Monopoly, which city was it? Which names of streets? Was it Riyadh or
no, 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 no.
do you
It was,
remember?
I think, London, because I remember there was Piccadilly Street, there was like Regent
Okay.
Street, something. I think it was the UK version of it. There wasn't a Saudi version of it. But the concept is the same. It's just, money. Monopoly is all about making money or winning with the most money, real estate. So I would say that was the business side of me, or the interest from the business side of me. In terms of art, I wouldn't say I was very artistic in my childhood. However, I did go to um, it was a summer what do you call it, summer camp that we used to paint in when I was at 6. So it was very light. It wasn't like intense art course or anything, but I believe that sparked like interest in art.
How old were
Um,
you?
I was 6 years old.
Oh wow, okay.
So I was very young. I wouldn't say that was when I started becoming an artist, because again, at 6 you're very young, but it sparked the candle, I would say.
Yeah.
And since then, I was always sketching. I just loved sketching. And then I believe at a bit older age, around 2007, 8, um, I would be, what was my age? It was like 10. I was 16. So around 16 years old, around that age, it's when I started buying canvases and actually
Mm.
trying painting with colors. Before that, it was only just sketches, paper,
Black and white.
colors, black and white, or even colors like the small, like the pastel colors or watercolors. It wasn't like paint. Um, Around 2016, 20, when I was 16, around 2008, 2009, I started copying an artist called Michael Goddard. He was, and he is still one of my favorite artists, where he used to paint very surreal paintings of olives, strawberries, basically everything around martini, the drink, but
Oh.
but it comes to life. So the strawberries and olives would have arms and legs. It was like people.
How do you spell
Um,
his name?
Michael Goddard, Godard.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, so
I'll have a
very
look.
surreal paintings involving martini and the elements of it, strawberry, olives, and so on. But dancing, they have legs, they had arms and everything. It was very intriguing to me. It was like a different type of art. And he used to say a slogan. I remember hearing it at that time, at that age, and I still, until today, say it to anyone who asks me any advice on art, because I think it's the
Good.
best art.
I had saved it for the conclusion, but let's have it now.
It would be, there's no right or wrong way to do it, because he was asked in an interview, why do you do this, why do you do that, and he just simply said there's no right or wrong way to do it. When it comes to art, you just do whatever you feel like. And that's what I did. So I started copying him, just to copy paste paintings. And then I got into the paintings of George Condo, which is a very famous surreal artist as well. And I also used to just copy paste his
Mm.
paintings as is. I just loved them. And obviously Picasso was like the godfather of painting. But before getting into the Picasso style, I just started copying Michael Goddard and George Condo. And then one time I just thought, I want something, I want to stop copying and just start painting something for myself. So step one was I took a Michael Goddard, a George Condo, actually both. I took a Michael Goddard painting and George Condo and tried to mix it with something, with my culture. Um, and it was nice. The result was nice. And then I started developing more and more.
What was the result?
So one was Michael Goddard had a champagne shower where he had a strawberry taking a shower with a champagne bottle. So I did it with a coffee and dates. So it was a date having a shower with coffee.
Is it
Uh,
still on your Instagram, this one, or you kept it private?
no, it is. It's
Okay.
very old. If you scroll down, it's there, but it's there. And then the George Condo one was just a queen. It was called the Queen. I called it. It was a very similar character to one of his, but I just put like some Arabic letters on the dress. That's it. It was very basic customization, I would say, to their work, and that was the start of me getting into the culture part.
I see.
With time, I started getting into learning about my culture, seeing the beauty of it, seeing the outfits, the regions, the traditions, and I just fell in love with it more and more. Um, Maybe before I did not have that eye for details or
Or
colors and
that
so on,
awareness that your culture was
or
something
that
special.
awareness. Exactly. But when I started getting into it, I just fell in love. And I would say if I paint even 10 years from now, I'm not gonna finish um, covering all the aspects of it.
No, and
It's just
culture
too much.
changes as well. So there's
Exactly.
always going to be new things to show and to say. What
Exactly.
do you
It's
think
just
is important for you to show in what aspect of your culture do you like to show?
anything. So the recent paintings, I'm focusing a lot on outfits, traditional outfits, which I really love. And again, I did not cover just the tip of the iceberg of all the traditional outfits that are out there. Um, Patterns, every region has a specific pattern to it. Cultural habits like the kashta staying in the tent, or the oud playing oud, for example, music, or foods, or there's just a lot to do that I did not get the chance to yet. I do have a lot of ideas in my head, and I'm working on a lot of paintings, but I don't have it yet. But that's
Yeah.
the beauty of it, is that creativity has no limits, especially when you're passionate about a topic that keeps you inspired all the time. So if I ever feel like I'm out of ideas, I just look at my culture again, and I find inspiration there.
And can you pinpoint the why of your desire to show culture through your art? Does it make you feel like you belong? Are you feeling like you need to tell other people around the world what your culture is? Can you identify what pushes you to do this?
It's actually both. So one was me realizing and finding out the beauty of the culture, and it sparked that question in my head of why did no one ever show me this or tell me about this? And then I discovered that no one showed me this because not a lot of people know it. When I started looking for content related to culture, I did not find a lot. And by the way, this was before the formation of the Ministry of Culture. So Ministry of
Yes.
Culture was formed, I think, in 2015, 16, if I'm not mistaken, more or less. But I started this path of trying to paint culture before that. And it was very hard for me to find anything about culture. Um, so I didn't choose to make it my mission, but it just happened out of, passion and love for the beauty of it. And I just found myself, even if you notice my older paintings where I just post the painting without a lot of explanation. But then I used to get a lot of question on what's this outfit, what does it mean? So I then started developing my content into more educational content where I don't
Yeah.
just put the painting, but I put like a story behind it, the meaning, the culture side of it, um, which becomes like an educational content. And then when Ministry of Culture came, of course, the information that they're putting out is just pouring out of the sky on everything. They're doing a great job, and that's what I'm telling you. I just keep getting inspired by a lot of
Yeah.
things.
Do you want to show us some images if you prepared any? Do you want to comment on some of your work?
I can show you, I can share my screen and show you a few of my paintings. And I can also ask you to choose, for example, a
Yes,
painting that you want me to maybe talk
focus
about,
on.
or
Sure.
yeah, 1 second. Let me know if you see my screen.
Not yet.
Wait, I can't. It's disabled.
Ah, so we can do from your Instagram page. No worries.
Sure. Just pick any painting that you like are curious about.
Sure. Let me. So your Instagram, so everyone knows, is called Art by Faisal. And oh yeah, there's one I really liked. It's this one, this lady,
Yes, the Sadhu lady.
the Sadhu lady. So talk to us about this Sadhu lady. It's very playful, very colorful. I even told my colleagues about it because I loved it.
Thank you so much. The Sadhu lady is a portrait of a lady dressed in full. So I wouldn't say a Sadhu outfit. It's just a regular outfit with a veil and abaya, but all of the patterns on her abaya were Sadhu pattern. For those who don't
Sadhu
know what the
meaning.
Sadhu pattern is, it is the pattern of the central region of Saudi Arabia. So you mostly find this in the central region. However, because it's maybe the most known pattern of the kingdom, you will find it everywhere. So in any region you go and you sit on the Arabic seatings or tents or the floor seatings, mostly you will find them in red, gray, black,
Okay.
and those are the colors and patterns of the Sadhu.
So I'll just show a bigger picture, this one, as you're
Yes,
describing it. So this
exactly.
is the Sadhu here.
It's actually in the full painting. So her abaya,
Okay.
yeah, the colors of the abaya are the official colors, which is red, black, white. That's the most common used colors for Sadhu. Now the background is purple because it's coming from the if you recently know that Saudi Arabia announced that the official carpet to welcome VIP
The
guests
galas,
from the
yes.
royal court was changed from red, which has been there forever, to purple. Purple is coming from the lavender color, which is the color of the flowers in the desert in a I forgot which period it was, but it's that color. It's the lavender color. So that's why they chose the color purple. And on that carpet, on both sides, from the right and left, they have also a Sadhu pattern. So if you see any of the images of the royal um, welcoming of any royal or any president, it's going to be purple carpet. If you look at the king or crown prince Mohammed bin Salman, they welcome their guests with that purple carpet. Sadhu pattern is on the sides, both sides. So that's why I did the background of this painting in purple to match that carpet. And then the Sadhu I did on the left side of the picture, which was in pink, that was just, because I wanted to put in pink with the purple and just brings out the colors. So that was like the artistic touch of changing the colors. Um, but mostly you will find Sadhu in red, black, and white.
Okay. Let me choose another one. That's good. You're unprepared. It's a surprise.
Of course.
I really liked this one too. It's
Which one? It's you're
so
not
the series
you don't
of
have it
two.
open.
The series
Yeah.
of two here.
Oh, the first futur. Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. I called it the first futur. So this one is actually a twist to the very famous painting called The Last Supper. Um,
Christian based.
exactly. Which had Jesus, I think, in the middle, and many characters basically fighting over food, and that was the
Oh,
Last Supper. However, I did a Arabic version of it called the First Futur, which depicts, first of all, the same kind of setting of that painting. However, this depicts the first day of Ramadan, where all of the family usually gathers to have breakfast on the first day of Ramadan,
mm,
which is the holy month where Muslims fast um, from dawn till sunset. And even in the painting, you're gonna find the Ramadan traditional patterns on the sides. The background has the moon that
yeah.
signifies that Ramadan is here. The
Yes.
the table has all the Ramadan dishes. So
Symbols.
we have famous dishes that are only like visible on the table on Ramadan. So that's what you're gonna find on the table.
Okay. Maybe a last one for the road. Let me go to the very beginning of your page. Go, 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 go. Ah, I can see some of the sketches. These ones, these two.
Oh yes. So these, by the way, if you look at them, this is the part of my style where you don't see a lot of culture. You
Yeah.
just see more of an international painting with a small customization of culture. So even the guy on the right, I think, has nothing to do with culture.
No, it
The
looks very
girl on the left,
European.
very European, yes. And the girl on the left just has the thobe with the
Yes.
mishlah pattern, which is like the basic minimal customization of culture. This was the era of me before I got into culture very much. This was the part where I just used to see, just international paintings and
And that's
trying to.
2016 for people who are listening.
Yes, yes, exactly.
So, okay. It looks like a cartoon,
Exactly,
which is
exactly.
very
So
funny.
this was the part of me discovering um my style, I would say. And I
Yeah,
wouldn't say I have discovered it because it's part of the artist's journey to keep discovering until death.
for
So
sure.
you
Yeah.
just keep exploring, trying different mediums, styles. And I'm sure if we speak next year or the year after, maybe you're gonna find a very different style of art that I like got shifted into, um, which is possible, which is part of the journey.
Sure, because so far you're using acrylic painting on canvas.
Yes.
Are you doing anything else, sculptures, or doing digital art, or you're focusing on painting?
I'm focusing on painting. Digital art, I did try to get into it. I just did not find joy in it because there's nothing like an actual brush and colors and the
There's no
struggle of
touch.
mixing colors because digital is very easy. The colors are there, all of the shades in the world, but it takes out the joy of actually mixing colors and coming out with like a special color in every painting, which I love.
Mm,
Sculptures, I would love to. I did not get into them yet, but it's one of the things I'm very interested about.
okay. Um, when I interview artists, of course, I like to talk about their work and the technique and things like this, but I also like to see their personality, and especially because it can, inspire other people. So, about you, I would like to ask you if you have any favorite book that you like, any favorite singer, or I don't know.
Uh, I don't have any favorite book because I don't read books. Um, I just can't. I
There's no
tried.
time.
It's not about time. I just can't. Every time I open a book, I just fall asleep. I'm a person who likes movies. I watch a lot of movies, documentaries.
Hmm.
Um, I'm even fine with listening to podcasts, music, and everything. But reading is just the death of me. I can't sit in one place and read. Um, So I don't read books, unfortunately. It's not something
Okay.
I am pro of because I know I should, but unfortunately I don't. When it comes to music, I love almost every type of music, both Arabic and English, except um, very high techno or rock. I don't listen to those. I'm more of a chill person, so I like softer music. I like jazz, I like blues, I like even pop music, R&B, whatever, but I don't like the very loud type of music. Same goes to Arabic music as well. You will find me listening a lot to Kulthum, maybe if you know
Mm.
her. Um, Abdul
Feiruz?
Halim, not so much.
No.
I prefer but I do love her, but not as Kulthum. I do listen to Khaliji music as well, but it's not my favorite. My favorite
Do you
would
put
be,
music when you paint, or do you like to stay in silence?
of course, oh no, I have to. I can't paint without music. It's just to get in the mood, you need music.
Okay.
I listen a lot to Frank Sinatra, one of my favorites, Michael Bublé, um, Kanye West. I love Kanye West. So you're gonna find that mixture of when I shuffle music from, Frank Sinatra to Kulthum, and then suddenly Kanye West, hip hop, uh, Jay Z. I love Jay Z, J Cole. I love a lot of different type of music. Um,
So
and
music
every
helps you be inspired or stay inspired, I would say. What else do you use to be creative and always to have some new ideas?
so I look at other paintings. To be honest, I look at other artists, what they're doing. Even if their style is very different than mine, it doesn't matter. You always
Mm.
get inspired when you see someone create something. Um, and a lot of the times I see very different styles that give me ideas. Doesn't necessarily mean I want to do the same style as them or same topic or idea, but it just gives you ideas of things that you can create. So besides music, I would say artists and art in general are my biggest inspiration.
Looking at other
Yeah,
at some of your colleagues, let's say.
exactly. Because some colleagues and some maybe I've never met, like George Kondo, for example. Michael
Yeah.
Goddard, I have met, by the way. And I told him how he was, the
Oh wow.
beginning of my art career. He was my inspiration, and he's actually really nice. He follows my art account. So yeah, Picasso is not with us, but I would love to have met him.
Maybe in another life.
Maybe, yeah.
Um, are you currently working on something specific? Do you have any exciting projects coming up?
Currently, I am working on a few things. So one, I have some customized requests from different clients that I'm working on, which is something I do as well on the side. I do have very nice paintings, again related to culture. One would be I don't want to give spoilers, but it's fine. I'll just uh, it's never the same when I paint them than when I explain them, so
When
it's
it
fine.
comes out?
Yeah, one is the Saudi Arda, which is the very famous dance. I did a painting of it, but it wasn't very cubism style thing. What I'm trying to do is a very cubist style of Arda. Another would be the Saudi orchestra music. So I'm painting a picture, and I'm very excited about, which is like the Saudi orchestra of all the music you would see in a Saudi or Arabic band.
Oh wow.
Oud, Qanun, all the Arabic instruments would be there, in a very cubist style. So I'm very
Okay.
excited about that. And then many
Super.
other regional outfit paintings as well that I'm trying to cover.
We have less than a minute left on our session. If people want to see more of your work, where can they find you? How can they buy your paintings?
So to find out more about my work, it's all on my Instagram account, which is art by Faisal, just one word. And then my website is there as well. My contact details are on my Instagram and my website as well. And all details about my art, I put up there. So every painting, you're gonna find the description, in both Arabic and English that basically tells you the story or meaning behind the paintings. And I'm happy to connect with anyone who is interested to purchase or ask anything about any of my works.
Great. And final bonus for our listeners. Well, I love words in general, and I was wondering if you can give us a typical Saudi expression in Arabic that people can use when they come visit, because go visit Saudi Arabia. It's a beautiful country.
You know, I saw this question as one of, I was reading when you shared the questions. I was thinking, what type of word should I say? There's too much, honestly. But I think for you it would be very basic. But for someone who's visiting Saudi for the first time, and maybe doesn't know any Arabic, Ahlan wa sahlan means hello, but in the local language, so they can say it to anyone they meet, without fearing that they're, crossing any lines or
Yeah,
anything.
and you
It's
just reply the same thing, which is easy.
exactly, that's the beauty of it. So you can say it and reply with it to anyone that says hello
Yeah.
to you, and both genders. So it's not gender specific like some Arabic words are.
Or it's not a single person group of people. You just use it for
Exactly.
any
Everyone.
kind of
It's
ahlan
the
wa
easiest.
sahlan.
Ahlan wa sahlan to
And this is
females,
how we
males.
end the
Yeah.
end the episode.
Yeah, exactly.
Great. Thank you so much for spending some time with me. It was great meeting you, as we didn't manage to meet in person. Hopefully in the future.
Hopefully, yes. And thank you so much for giving me this opportunity and hosting me. It's been great having this discussion with you.
I hope to meet you in person soon.
Inshallah. Ahlan wa sahlan. Waiting for
أهلا
you
وسهلا. مع
whenever you
السلامة.
visit.
Bye.
As-salam. Bye.